Hello, hello. Thank Godot it's Friday. How's it going, y'all? Hi, Rain and Journey. May your meetings be emails, as I coined yesterday. I had to cancel a bi-weekly meeting today. Oh, you're on a 30 stream streak. Wow, low key. You did not bust that out when everyone was measuring stream streaks yesterday. You were just quietly, confidently chilling at 30. I see you. No meetings today. That's great. Yeah, I had to cancel a bi-weekly meeting because only one person was going to go. And it's a meeting I run. And it's really sucks when a bi-weekly meeting gets missed because then you don't meet for a month, right? So I was like, I'm going to switch this to a weekly meeting next year, y'all. Don't make me do it. So I am not without sin when it comes to forcing people into meetings. All right. I think I'll switch radios here in a second. I like this song, though. Busy Country Life. That'd be nice someday. That slow living I hear people talking about. It sounds like grueling work. People always talk about how idyllic and peaceful it must be to live in the country and just work your garden and whatever. I'm like, that sounds grueling, but I don't know. Compared to meetings all day, I don't know. All right, here we go. All right, so we have some exciting stuff on the horizon for us here. We have the Bombo Big Refactor. I worked on it a bit last night, mainly just preparing for it more than anything because we had kind of a lightning strike realization of the basic building blocks of the game and how we were operating on what I would call the wrong scale. Maybe not scale. I don't know. I think Rhiannon, you talked about it yesterday as like switching to using individual Lego blocks or something like that. I don't remember who mentioned that, but that's a good way of thinking about it. Rhiannon, you grew up in the country about an hour from the nearest large city. A large portion of your days was caring for the upkeep of the yard. Your mom was a bit particular about it. You said Legos? Yeah, I think that's a good way of thinking about it. Yeah, I don't have a particularly green thumb or anything, but I am increasingly kind of annoyed at, you know, this modern existence. That said, I don't have any other skills, so, you know. Let's wait until I get that game dev money. Then I can buy a private island off of, like, Seattle or something. So let's get working on that for me. Yeah, so this is, I kind of redid the diagram because I wanted to be able to describe this when people asked about it. And we're essentially moving from the structure on the top towards the structure on the bottom. And the structure on the top is like, we have this thing called a block. Yeah, thanks. I take my diagrams seriously. So previously or currently, a full block is like this compound structure, and like it might include a deck plate. That's the like dotted section here. So there's one deck plate potentially. And then there's an upper section that we call a bulk. From a rendering standpoint, a bulk consists of two pieces, but that's just a rendering construct. From an organizational construct, we only look at a block or a bulk. You either have a bulk or you don't have a bulk, and your bulk might have a characteristic to it. Like it might be a door. Like so your block might have a door section. And what we want to do is we want to move to this new model where a block is just a single atomic piece. It's not like a thing that has like subcomponents to it. It's just a block either is or it isn't. And then if you want to recreate something like a quote unquote full block from the old system, you could just, if you wanted to create like a solid wall, you could just stack 4 blocks on top of each other. And if you wanted to make a door, you could stack blocks and give it the characteristic of being a door. And I think that's kind of neat. So the door would get built by context clues. So you could place a block, label that block as a door piece, and then the system would look and be like, how many door pieces are adjacent to each other? Like this stack of just 3 door pieces on top of each other makes a single door. This stack, this 2 stack wide set would make a double door. And we'd need to have some kind of lookup into like what assets we actually have available from a functional standpoint. Especially if we've got something like a door which opens and closes and stuff and has animations and whatever. But from a block standpoint, this is pretty easy to build these things by composition. And I think that's how we're going to do it. And it answers a whole lot of problems. It answers a whole lot of problems in terms of compartmentalization. It answers some problems in terms of block cutaways. I think the cutaway system is actually going to be pretty complex in response to this. But anyway, this is a huge change to the quote-unquote fundamental building block of the game. And it touches pretty much every piece of code that we have, as well as every art asset we've made so far. So this is a huge change, and I'm not quite sure where I want to start. We've got the whole the shape of a problem doesn't start anywhere situation. Yeah, so we have to decide what we want to do. I'm thinking maybe we go to the Kanban board to help us out with this. Start breaking up our task, but maybe we don't. Maybe we don't use the Kanban board. What I should probably do is have like a separate sprint for this and make my own board for just this. So the invalid block tile mask is on hold. 90-degree camera rotations are on hold. Resizable block buffer. This is maybe one of the most critical elements of this new system, as well as maybe the raycast cursor input. These are super crucial for this thing that we want to do. So I actually don't think I want to make a task called decomposed blocks, because that's not exactly... I think the split overlays outlines are pretty much done. The auto tiler corner cases are not. I spotted an error yesterday. But I think we can move this to completed. Is there anything here that needs to come back out? I mean, a lot of this stuff needs to get touched again. Like the black cutaway system is going to need work. I'm going to this back here on hold. Move all these up. Hey, tricky lady. What color are your socks today? I don't know. Mostly blue. With like a kind of a honeycomb hex pattern on them. I like Bombas socks. I like the Bombas ankle socks. I actually just bought some more. They're very nice. Were you popular in school? No. Maybe for a minute. When nerds were cool. No, I was not in school for very long. I was very much I haven't done a lot of schooling. I very much have problems with authority figures. How are you doing? Who won the jam I joined? I think it was a two-way tie between Black Titan and someone else. Whose game I actually didn't even play. Which is unfortunate. Random Journey. How far away are your current data structures from modeling this new structure? I mean, in principle, it's not that different, but in practice, we are changing a lot of assumptions. And so a lot of the structure of the systems are built around those assumptions. And so it's not like we're going to be making new systems, but we do need to retool pretty much everything that we have. Random Journey, you're already kind of doing blocks. They are just different sized and not first-class citizens on their own. Yeah, so it's a little different. I'm thinking some different ways about storing things. I had a thought for a 64 by 64 by 64 bit mask volume that we can do pretty easily using an array of bit field 64s as kind of a bit mask into each block volume to let you know if there is a block there or not. I think it's kind of neat. I missed your first question. Oh, yeah, no, I got back. You're just trying to imagine what kind of teen I was. Oh, yeah, that's fair. I could already kind of grow a beard when I was a freshman in high school. So I ended up hanging out with the upperclassmen and not relating to my peers at all. So I've historically had a very bad job socializing with my peers, which I think put me on the road of being like kind of a pretty solitary individual. But that's always kind of been my way. You know, that's the way of the nerd. My parents were always confused that I would rather hang out with my friends virtually than in person. Like I'd be playing like Age of Empires with my friend and like we'd be like talking on the phone. Because like voice VoIP hadn't like really taken hold yet. So yeah, it was funny. Like they would go over to like I had to mute like we had family friends where like each of us, like me and my sister, had like a counterpart in that family. So it was like our two families meshed really well. So they'd go over to their house. My parents would go over to their house and I'd be like, I'm good. I'm gonna stay here so that I can play Xbox with like my counterpart in their family, because we wanted to play online and we couldn't do that if we were both in the same house. So it's funny. Friendships for kids in the internet age is very weird, isn't it? When did I hit my cool dude period? Yeah, I was probably then. And then I left high school shortly after that. I didn't actually like go through all of that. I tested out. I didn't want to do it. Hey, Nix, thanks for the hydrate. Rhiannon, you got in trouble in school for reading books on the swing instead of playing with kids during recess? Yeah, that's crazy. I would do something similar sometimes. Playing on the PC while being on the phone? Oh yeah, we didn't have dial-up. We were pretty advanced. My dad's always been pretty tech oriented. He was he was an electrical engineer before it was cool. He actually originally became an electrical engineer because the math department was full. So we always had access to like the newest tech. You didn't finish high school GED? It's close to that. It's close to that. It's not technically that because you have to be like an adult to take the GED, and I was still a minor. But California has like an alternative to that. So yeah, I didn't. I am not schooled. I'm not schooled. I'm like the poster child for like the no degree life. No, I'm not ashamed of it or anything. I have no debt, which is kind of cool. Nix, that's funny. When you first moved after your first grade in school, you got in trouble for reading instead of playing with your peers as well. They tattled on you saying you were reading some risque stuff. It was a book about birds. That sounds risque. Anyway, we have to pick an initial angle here. You did your GED in regular classes and you moved on to do specific high school classes. That's kind of neat. Yeah, I had thought that if I just got out of high school and moved on to college early, I would find stuff that I was interested in. And I could have. I kind of wish you didn't have to go to college until you were in your 30s. I kind of wish they just put you to work in your 20s and then you could go back and do higher education once you were older and had like more discipline. Because I think nowadays I would love being in a university. I would adore having that kind of time to like dig into stuff and just think about things and work on upper education things. I just wasn't at a point in my life where I had the discipline or like the resolve to want to do any of that stuff. Which sucks, because I would have benefited from it greatly. I just didn't have the right temperament. All right. So how do we want to start this? I have some ideas about how we want to start this. Yeah, everyone's kind of going back to get re-educated, right? Because the job market's so terrible. But I know a lot of the young people are actually going straight into like trade school. They're going straight into the trades because the trades are like booming. Because, you know, one thing ChatGPT can't do is rewire the electrics in your house. Nix, you used to think that you'd go and do a master's when you got better in German when you moved here. You realized it wouldn't do any good for you. Your job doesn't require it. Yeah, it's like one of those things. It seems to matter less and less, and it seems to just be more and more expensive to get higher education degrees. Very unlikely to talk to someone below 40 who isn't studying. Yeah, it's because everyone has to reskill, right? Everyone's being told that they need to reskill for the current, you know, job market. And so I think that's what people are doing. I think if you can't find a job right now, you don't have a lot of options except to just go in and try to get more education. It's a vicious cycle. Because at least in America, that cannot be done cheaply. Education is not cheap here. And it seems to matter less and less. You're always hearing about kids who drop out of college to like form a AI startup that they sell for $1 billion when they're still like 22. That's a good point, Rhiannon Journey. All right, so my problem with this, with where I want to start with this different block structure, is I kind of want to have the things I mentioned first on this list. We really need the raycast cursor input because the way it works currently is you're hard locked to a certain Z level. I guess we could actually continue to do that now because Z levels would be really specific. I kind of want to change it so that the initial block you place down is like it's 0, 0 or something. And then you reorganize the blocks all the time. How do I do that without changing the camera or changing the view? But how are you doing, Tricky Lady? How are the holidays treating you? I took all of last week off, and well, not all of. I took most of last week off work, and I'm having a hard time focusing now. But I'm really glad because the fact that we unfocused yesterday, we were able to see this new world. We were able to envision this different way of doing things, and I think that's super important, and it saves you a lot of time. Because the earlier you can do something like this, the better. The better. I mean, we could work on the art, I guess. One question that I have is, it would be nice if there was a way that I could do this that didn't require overlaps. Like, how big is this? So this is 33 pixels, which is, like, not great. Like, it'd be pretty cool if we could do this in a way that didn't require overlapping blocks. But I don't think I can do that in a way that doesn't tessellate, or in a way that does tessellate. Let's take a look at this. I know I've done this in the past. If it isn't clear, I'm still, like, not in a place to do, like, serious work. In my mind. Ew, work. Yeah, exactly, Nix. I'm looking forward to this weekend. I just want to chill and, like, clean my apartment. And just hang out. Play some Arc Raiders. So let me see if I can describe the problem. Let's just take these because these are good examples. So is there a way to do this? So this is nice because this tessellates really cleanly. So, like, we can also do it like this. I say not being able to tessellate anything. There we go. Oh, let's leave that. I calls that the last one decomposed blocks. What I'm looking at here is I'm looking at, like, overlapping blocks. So this works because the vertical outlines overlap each other. That makes life so much more difficult. So is there a way to do this that doesn't do that? I know that's kind of like a tall order. December is not a month for serious work. I agree. So, like, what if we change the structure to be more like this? I don't think this is a good use of my time because I don't think that there is a way to do this. But I kind of want to try. So if I shorten this, does that help? And then so if we take something like this, and what if we actually shorten the whole thing again? What if we bring the whole thing down one more? So that it's 8 tall instead of 9 tall. like this. I guess there's actually a question. If you do this, is it actually more like this then? So if you do this, should it actually be more like this? This would be more consistent. Like that. If you truly don't have any overlap. In which case, do I actually want it to be like this? Like, is this what we want? I know this is a lot of outlining. And so if we do something like this and we attempt to tessellate this, what happens? I hope everyone else has an easy Friday today. I'm ready to not be working anymore. So this might actually work the way I've written this, the way I've drawn this like this. Because I would love to remove the overlap. The overlap is making everything I do harder. This looks like it tessellates. So that's 8 tall. Is this also 8 tall? Yes. Hey, this might actually work. I could actually finish this. Who's there? Oh, it's Sapphire. How's it going? Happy Friday. You got sick, Nix? I'm sorry. It is the season. It is the season. My partner just got over a sickness. She gets sick a lot during this time of year. I'm one of those weird sickos that like never gets ill. I just don't get sick. It's kind of crazy. I don't understand. Exactly. So this has removed all overlapping, including overlapping between the top and the side. And I think this could actually solve a bunch of rendering problems that we have. That I've kind of covered up. Okay, so vertical stacking works under this model. What about horizontal stacking? What happens when I do this? Is that an overlap? That looks like an overlap. Damn it. Can I make that go away by doing this? Nix, your SO always gets sick, and the intern, she always gets you sick as well. That is often how it goes. I'm kind of lucky that that almost never happens to me. Sapphire, you're not too bad. You just got home from work. It's definitely starting to get a little chilly out. When you were going to work this morning at 5:30, it was 8 degrees Fahrenheit. Oh, no thank you. No thank you. Rhiannon, you forgot to say you woke up to snow this morning. It's been snowing all day. That's awesome. That is awesome. All right, let's test. So Good news, bad news. It's kind of is weird. All right, now what if I do this? Now what happens? Okay, now there's no overlap, which is good. It does mean you can actually stand in the center of the tile, which is kind of neat. Not 100% sure on this. Probably been 2 years since you've seen snow. Wow. Nick's out here eating ice cream in like winter. Crazy. Crazy stuff. Okay, so I don't love this. I don't love what I'm doing here with the top part, but the problem is I don't think there's a way to do this otherwise that doesn't involve overlap. We don't have to get rid of the overlap, but it would make a lot of things a lot easier. I just figure if we're like changing the basic building blocks of the game, why not why not fix a fundamental problem? But is there a way to do this otherwise? Like, is there a way to do this like this? I don't think so. It's the short answer. Okay. So the answer is basically if I want this doubled up deal, it won't work. It will only work if we shorten the height of the floor panels here. If we shorten the floor panels to just have one piece on the side. Like, it's pretty good if we don't share edges between tiles. Like, that's pretty good in a lot of ways. Because there's some weird stuff that can happen where, like, you've got a tile here that, like, goes up. So if you got a situation like this... Oh, I drew this weirdly. No, this is right. So if you got a situation like this... Previously, this seam between the floor and the wall would be shared between them. So, like, what is the normal vector of that seam? Right? It would be hard to do lighting and stuff for that seam. Because it would mean all edges there are, like, kind of rounded. unintentionally, but if you do it like this, and we just kind of clean some of this up to make it easier to see. This is a lot better in terms of clarity of who owns what. It has the benefit of a character stands directly in the center of the tile as well, which is kind of neat. Instead of before, where you would kind of be either slightly too high or slightly too low because of this. What is the overlap complicating? Everything. Remember when I had that false start a week or two ago when I was like, why are we rendering the outlines separately from the underlying textures? Because we do that when you look at like a block template here. We have the textures stored separately from the outlines, and it's because of overlap. Where like, because of draw a Y sorting inside the engine, if you have a tile in front of another tile, like a floor tile, it will cut off the floor tile behind it. So if the floor tile behind it needs to be outlined, the floor tile in front of it needs to cast that outline back. If there was no overlap, each tile would be fully self-sufficient. You would not be overwritten by a tile in front of it in terms of Y sorting. So there's all sorts of stuff. This is the most obvious problem. But I think once we get to lighting, that becomes a problem too, because of like I was saying about normal mapping. Or the normal mapping, I guess, is the same thing. Determining the normal is a little hard. So this has a lot of outlining. This change might actually convince us to move away from outlining in all cases, or in not necessarily doing it in every case, because it's a lot of outlining. But it's tempting. It's tempting to do something like this. It's slightly different. And I think we would need to reconcile with that. Maybe not. It's actually pretty consistent. It still tessellates evenly. It just comes up a little shorter than I would expect. The top tile would be an odd number of cells, which is maybe the thing that's weird to me about this. It's probably easier to reason about if I had just colored these in with solid colors. Sorry, I'll catch up on chat in a second. Oh, you have a fever? Sorry about that, Nix. Take it easy. Maybe you should have some ice cream. Cool it down. Wait, you'll have normals in the game? Like per tile or texture-wise normals? It would be textured. Like the tile texture would have a normal. But the problem is, if the edges of each tile overlap, especially at those right angle junctions, how do you reconcile the normal maps on the edges, right? Do you add them together? Do you find like some vector between them so it looks like every corner is like rounded? I mean, that would look cool, maybe. But it would certainly be more, you'd average them. Yeah, I think that's what you would have to do. But like, how would you determine, like, let's say for argument's sake, the outline was colored. Or like there wasn't an outline. How would you decide who renders above what? Does like the wall render over the floor? Does the floor render over the wall? Like we're hiding problems right now with the outlining. Like if we switch to a system or we come up with an art style where we're like, we don't want outlines anymore, it would be really hard to do it using this system with the overlaps. They do end up in the same place, which is curious. Like if you look at this, we start down here and we end up 3 pixels. After one tessellation, we end up 3 pixels past this line. If you go up here, oh no, here we end up 4 pixels. Yeah, so the main problem that I have with this is the change of this from being 8 tiles to 4 tiles, or to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 to 7. I have a bit of a problem with that. Could we change that by just making this piece a little taller? So what if this piece was slightly taller? Well, that would probably change a lot of things, huh? So like, if we moved all of this up by 1, this would exaggerate the difference every single time. So if I wanted to stack these, it would be like, yeah, we'd end up growing out of bounds very quick. Or not out of, we'd end up desyncing from the scale that we used previously. I would like to use this extended piece here, but as we noticed earlier, this doesn't tessellate correctly. Like I would like to do it this way. Problem is that you end up sharing outlines if I do it like that. So I kind of can't. So maybe this is fine. Maybe this is what we want. It does mean there's actually a center coordinate. It's pretty interesting. Or a center row or whatever for each floor tile, which I think is good. Next, you'd go with floor over walls over ceilings. Depending on what is first in the Z buffer, you hide it. Yeah, I mean, that'd be okay. But that doesn't solve the problem that we I mean, we already solved this problem, but what if the wall, I don't know if you can have the wall. So what if you have a wall that is behind a floor? This is the problem we've solved earlier using a different system by splitting the outline from the texture. So If so, what your suggestion is that the wall overwrites the floor below it, even if the floor is in front of it, right? At the edge, at the point where they join. So what if the floor in front of the wall is outlined, like it has a selection, and so you want to draw an outline around it? Well, that outline is set by the wall above it. So the wall would need to cast a partial outline down along the lower edge, which I don't like. I don't like that because it means each tile is not self-sufficient. A tile would depend on a tile nearby it to draw itself, which just feels bad to me. I'm not saying your suggestion is bad. Your suggestion is actually good and is kind of what we're currently doing. I'm just thinking that that's like, that I would really like it if each tile was self-sufficient. Like if a tile could just draw itself and not worry about some other tile overwriting it. You think we could just not draw that part, the lazy route? That looks really bad. We've looked at that before, because that's why we split the selection outline. Like, I don't actually have a problem with the 7-pixel tall floor piece. Like, I don't really have a problem with this being our floor piece. Like, I don't really. I just want to think it out. I think we're continuing to, like, you know, think through our options here. I think it's important to do that at this phase. Like, I kind of like this floor piece, but it's always been kind of unnatural. Like, if you look at any isometric game, it's super unusual for them to have this, like, really thick edge along the side corners. It's pretty unusual to do that. It's also kind of unusual to do what we're doing here. It's more usual that you would see something like this. This is more typically the kind of thing that you would see. So this is gross, and there's no reason we would we definitely wouldn't do that. But I don't think there's anything wrong with doing this. I actually think we have a compression, or it's like, what do you call it? What's the word? Foreshortening. I'm thinking about the foreshortening along the, like, down Z, down like the visual Z, like down the camera. This is probably the best time to think through big choices if you're going to be touching basically every system. Yes, I agree. I think of the beginning of Pi. Everyone's seen the movie Pi, right? Like 12:23 p.m. Restate my assumptions. Like, you should be confronting your assumptions every time you sit down to work, right? Maybe not every time, but it's very healthy to do that at certain times. I think that's good. But yeah, I would rather thoroughly plan out. If we're going to be having to redo almost everything to accomplish this new paradigm, let's reevaluate everything. You know what I'm saying? I know you know what I'm saying. I'm just and this is looking like it's going to be a really chill day on the stream. It's looking like a real quiet stream here, which I enjoy, but I think it's even more a good reason for me to be reevaluating all this stuff. That said, what I did last night, I restored the old system before we tried to rewrite the cutaway so that the game would continue to work while we did this refactor. That's the sort of thing that kills me, is when you go to do a major refactor like this and you're basically like, well, this is going to remain unplayable for a month. I think that is the easiest way to completely kill your motivation. I think you should strive to have your game quote unquote unplayable for no more than a day. I think a day is okay. If you're like, well, I broke it today, but I'll fix it tomorrow. Like, I think that's excusable. But when you're in this situation, so many of my projects have died because they've become unplayable for a week and then a month. And then I'm like, I don't really want to do it. So I at least restored the old way of doing things. Back when we used the room bounds cutaway. Because we also had some people who came in yesterday who seemed to be interested in the project and interested in the channel. And they were like, can you show me what you have so far? And I was like, no. So I'm going to strive to do this refactor in a way where we don't break, where we can still demo the old way of doing things. I think that's important. Because then I can be like, here's what we were doing. Here are the problems we were having. Here's what we're doing now. Someone hasn't seen it in a minute. You know, we might not actually need, at least for the editing system, we might not actually need a raycast-based input. You know, we might put up a backdrop, some kind of backdrop outline so you can actually see where your cursor is in 3D space. I might actually do that now. I didn't want to do it before, but I could actually see an argument for doing it. Where you draw the hollow back, the like hollow outlines of the back of the buildable area, and you cast like dotted lines from your cursor down to the edges. We've done something like that before with shadows, and it was really helpful for figuring out where you were in 3D. And I think that's going to matter a lot more once we've changed the basic building block to essentially be this. Just one floor piece perpetually. It's that, or like constantly rearrange the blocks to fit in the middle of the buildable area. That's the other option we could do. Dave does have working versions. He's just too lazy to check Git. Git is good for recovering work. Can you make a build of this working version and just keep it on the side to show people during the refactor? I could do that. Constantly rearranging sounds like a lot of extra work. It is a lot of extra work for the auto tiler, not for the auto tiler, for the block editor. And I need to reconcile that with how it's being shown visually. So I would need to physically reposition the tile map layers. But no, I don't Git, to me, Git is not good for like rapidly, you can't rapidly go and back and forth and like, here, let me run the old version. Okay, let me go back to the current version. Okay, let me run the old version again. Okay, let me go back to the current version. I guess there's maybe a way to do that with Git. Like you like set up a parallel version of the, I don't know. I don't know how you do that in terms of the actual project on the computer. I don't feel like Git was built to do that. Obviously, I could just have multiple builds, and I could go back to the old build, go to the new build, go to the old build, go to the new build, and I guess that's what I should do. But I feel like I'll also want to look at the structure of the code in the old version, too. You can do git stash to save your current changes to the side, then move to other branches and do stuff. Yeah, but how do you have multiple sets of the project on your local hard drive that correspond to one git, right? So how do I keep a copy of this version of the game project and the other version of the game project on the local computer at the same time? I don't feel like that's doable. Yeah, I'd have to create a new Git into another folder. Yeah, I don't want to do that. You could go back to the old place, git stash pop to put the changes back. So it would be that. It would be constantly going back and forth between stash changes and like the old version and the stash it in the old version. There's a way. You forgot the name of it. I'm sure there is. I just don't know if it's worth doing. So the way we're probably going to do this is we're going to build the new system on top of the old system. Or in parallel to. So that should be pretty easy. We'll just run a separate set of systems. Should be fine. Systems don't have to be unique the way we've currently written them. I mean, they are, but I think it'll be fine. We'll just make some Git work trees. Okay. I might look into that. I don't know if that's worth it, because like we said, I'm not going to be working on the two branches in parallel. It's just I would like to have the old branch nearby so I can look at it and so I can run it. But maybe Nix has the right idea and we just make a build and then we just forget about it. Oh, I got someone I can ban. The Rear View Bummer 69. Oh my god. It is quite a name. Get wrecked.
He's dead, Jim.
He is dead, Jim. New system from ground up time. Have good ideas brewed well overnight. Hey Arneo, how's it going? I loved your project update this morning. It looked really sick. So what we're doing, Arneo, is we're doing a couple of things. This is the thing we talked about yesterday. Here's today's diagram for it, which is that we're going from our previous block setup, which was this compound object, which consisted of a deck plate and an optional bulk, you know. And we're switching to this other system where a block is just a single piece. And if you want to build these other things, you just make stacks of blocks. So you could, if you want to make a wall with a floor, you just make a block stack of solid objects. If you want to make a door, you make a door stack. So you just take the block, set the block to door piece, and then the system will find or will figure out via context, like which way does the door open? How big is the door? You know, and then it will look in our list of like, for a door, it would look in our list of like proxies to see if it could capture a door of that size. If not, it would it would fail the validity check if like we couldn't spawn an object of those dimensions of that type. You're happy to do real progress for once after a bit of a break? Yeah, it looks great. It looks very expanse. You've got like, it looks like you're just flipping the Rocinante around and just like whipping out the PDCs. Like, it's pretty great. You've very much captured the like feel of the motion, I think. I'm enjoying this stream. This is a very intimate stream. It's really just the core gang here. It's nice because this is a pretty heady stream. So anyway, we're doing this, Arneo. We're preparing this big refactor of Rhiannon Journey called it like taking our little, you know, our little, like imagine if our building block before was multiple Lego pieces. And so we considered we only ever operated on a collective group of Lego pieces. That was like the smallest thing we could deal with, or organizationally. And now we're like decomposing it down into the individual pieces. And those larger combinations are all emergent properties, which is great from a simulation game perspective. It's really great to have this kind of atomic building block, because a building block should be individual. You should not be able to break a building block down into smaller pieces. I know that's not actually how atoms work, but that's what atomic means. I also had like a latte. I went down to the corner, the little deli on the corner, and I got like a breakfast bagel and a latte because I couldn't be bothered to make breakfast this morning, and I am like way more wired than I normally am, which is weird because normally I make this big cup of coffee. I don't know how many shots they put in a 20-ounce latte. It might have been a triple shot. But yeah, I'm blazing. Makes you think of voxels for some reason? I'm gonna time you out. These aren't voxels, okay? They're not. They're blocks. A voxel is a volumetric pixel. These are 3D blocks being rendered as 2D tiles, okay? Get that straight. Sapphire, you're here barely able to keep any kind of focus and just zoning out. It sounds like you might need some espresso. No, I'm not being very focused now either. I've got like too much energy to be focused. Anyway, Arneo. So we're doing this refactor, which is going to touch every piece of code and also every asset that we've made so far. So it's a pretty big refactor. And so we're kind of taking the opportunity to rethink other issues that we have. So now we're thinking about overlapping blocks versus non-overlapping blocks. So right now, the vertical lines between... So horizontally, tiles don't overlap, which is why you can see the double thick outline, but when we tessellate them. But vertically, they do, which is why you see the single thick line when we tessellate them. Either up and down for the horizontal for the wall tiles, or across for the flat tile faces. So we're thinking about switching to this other model that has no overlapping of any kind. And we're thinking about doing that. Arnia, you actually didn't know what voxels are. Sorry. Just reminded you of those types of games with the building block stuff, you know, and you like those games. No, I'm picking on you. It's not. It's not fair. My hang-ups with voxels shouldn't affect you. So yeah, all we would really do here is we would slightly change the side tiles from being 9 pixels tall to only being 8 pixels tall, which is a good height for a wall piece. And then we'd also have to change the top tile. We'd need to reduce the thickness of the edges here so that it could tessellate without overlapping, because here this one gives us the overlapping tessellation and this one does not. There's a lot of reasons why we might want to do this. Random Journey, whispering so Dave doesn't hear. You don't think you're all that far off? Yeah, conceptually. Arnio, so overlapping makes thicker lines, which is bad, you assume? Makes us have to prune stuff? Actually, overlapping makes thinner lines because they're overlapping. And it actually causes draw conflicts, which is part of the reason we've had to do things like separate the outlines from the underlying textures so that a block that gets Y-sorted in front of another block might have to participate in drawing the outlines of the block behind it. Like, there's a bunch of awkward stuff that happens when you overlap the outlines. So we kind of want to move over to a system that has no overlapping lines of any kind. So yes, overlapping lines are bad, but they're thinner, not thicker. So we're thinking of switching to this other system. Nix, you wonder if we would still have overlap if we just filled out the boxes instead of having just a wireframe? That doesn't really change it because, like, I could color, instead of having an outline, I could just color these different colors and it wouldn't change anything. The outline just describes the edge of the tile. Hold on a second. Someone's calling me. I can't answer that. You whispered too loudly? Yeah, you did. But yeah, I think this is also a smart thing to do. The only consequence that I'm a little concerned about is this size tile, because this becomes the size of the tiles. So I think I need to look at that a little bit. I need to go to like this. I need to go to this. I need to look at this tile set, or I need to make a new tile set. Whoa. heck is going on here? Maybe I shouldn't have done it this way. Let's just make a new scene. Oh yeah, I actually don't technically want to mess with any of our current hierarchy is what I want to not do. How did I change this? What did I possibly do to change the scene? I selected something. All right. I'm going to change this to a tile map layer. Hey, Skywalk, what's up? Blazing in here. I see you. Happy Friday. So if we do this, we go here, we make a new tile set. We set our tile set to be isometric. Diamond down. Horizontal offset's fine. So this is our current tile. Our current tile is 32 by 8. Our new tile would be 32 by 7. I think. It's a little awkward. So I think we just need to try this. Maybe I just make a mock-up. Let's just make a mock atlas here. I think I should rename this. This is like... I don't really want to bother writing that. But we're basically... The point here is we're going from overlapping to non-overlapping, I think. I want to try it. It means we might reduce the amount of outlining we do. Like, we might more quickly move to texturing and worry less about outlining. Because honestly, outlining is not a good thing to do in a game that takes place against the black backdrop of space. Or at least, black outlines are not a good thing to do. So like selection outlines are fine because we do those in white. But I think we're going to move away from the black outline system a lot sooner. At which point, the overlapping matters a lot, almost more. Because it's one thing to say, okay, so at the junction between a ceiling and or a wall and a floor, if there's an outline mediating that junction, mediating that overlap point, it doesn't really matter. But if it's not an outline, if it's instead just like the color of the wall overwriting the color of the floor, now we have a problem. So this is actually the annoying case to me. Is the case of the wall to floor junction. This is the outline that I find the most problematic. Or the case that I find most problematic for the overlapping, which is why I think the non-overlapping is quite neat. The only thing I'm a little concerned about is whether it all tessellates super cleanly. I do like a good diagram. Skywalk, you're not doing much. You've been busy. Oh. New GF. You no longer remote work because new work position, so less time to watch. Oh, no worries. Well, I hope the new job and your social life and everything. I hope everything's good. Sounds like you got a bunch of new stuff. I know it's hard to settle in when you got a bunch of new stuff going on. But yeah, I hope you're doing well with all that. All right, I'm gonna write it. We're gonna do it. I should probably raise the size of this to be 2 pixels. I don't really want to do real work right now, so we're doing some like pie in the sky, like rethinking our life. I know Nix especially was really concerned that we were going to be done with the block editor tool too soon, but I think I can safely reassure you that we've got a lot of work to do. Random Journey, do you have any talks about data-oriented design that you would recommend? You started reading the book. You were having a hard time getting it. You think because it was a lot of abstract stuff at the beginning? They get a lot more practical over time. It's one of those books where you're going to like... It's like one of those books where you'll read the first half, be like, what? And then you read the second half, which is like mostly examples. And then you'll go back to the first half again and you'll be like, ah. And then more specifically, you'll try to use those things. And then you'll go back and read it again and be like, because that's me. I'm rereading it right now, or I was rereading it on my vacation. And there was a lot of things where I was like, I understand why this is good now. I watched the video you sent, which was really funny, about doing the ECS stuff, that it didn't actually end up being faster than doing it normally. And they had a good follow-up video on multi-threading, which reinforced a lot of the things that I feel like I've had figured out about multi-threading, which is that servers are better than mass multi-threading, which means putting individual domains on like their own threads, which is what Godot does. But yeah, is there anything else that I would recommend? Let me think. Nix, you fully trust in my ability to delay everything? Thanks. I appreciate the vote of confidence. Yeah. I think I can be trusted to spin my own tires here. Overlapping. How do I write a G? Like that? Okay. I like the song. I don't know if I love that G. Would I like this better? Oh no, that doesn't look like anything. This arguably doesn't look like anything either, but what else would be good for trying to understand data-oriented design. It's a little tough to answer because it's kind of one of those things. It's like it's something that like you arrive at after like enough time doing the opposite. After like enough time doing object-oriented, you'll be like, I hate this. I want to do something else. But that said, I'm sure we can find something. Yeah, so this is what we're talking about here. All right. Yeah, so we're switching from an overlapping system to a non-overlapping system. That's what we're trying to do. And we're going to do that as well as switch the size of the building blocks. And so what I want to do first, I think, is like I need to make a test tile set. You're gonna go lay it down for a bit, catch me tomorrow. Thanks, Sapphire. Yeah, take it easy. Yeah, we'll be here tomorrow. Rhiannon, you get that? You think you just like using classes and objects to contextualize things? Yeah. I think you'll over time find the flaws of that. And if they don't bother you, they don't bother you. And in a lot of cases it doesn't matter, right? Like Godot is very much encourages a class-based system. Honestly, here's what I would say to start. Do you have gameplay programming patterns? Or game programming patterns? It's a book, but it's also here. It's like everyone should have this bookmarked, right? I'll drop the link. This is Bob Nystrom's book. Not all of it is in here. I think this only has like a section of it. So what I would do is I would go, because this isn't data oriented. This isn't hard data oriented. The decoupling patterns component. I would do this. So this is an entity component model. It's not an entity component system because what he describes here still has the update loop in the components themselves, which is a lot like Godot. Because Godot, you can, nest nodes within nodes. So I think if you at least start to just think about a component model, I think it'll be a lot more clear, because you can still do a lot of object-oriented stuff with a component model. But instead of having like these big monolithic classes where you're like, here's my player class. Everything the player needs is in the player class and it's just all there. Instead, you could have a parent node, which is just like a mostly empty entity. And then you could have like a player input node as a child, and like a physics body node as like, this is the body of it, and like a health node and like a whatever. Partly so you can share functionality between like players and NPCs and stuff, but partly so you could just kind of get used to using a component model. So if you start moving away from like monolithic classes and at least towards I'm composing my objects instead of having them be these individual monolithic classes, I think that would be like a good first thing to think about. And this section of the book does a lot explaining why you would want to do that and how you might go about it. It's still written in like C or whatever. It's not written in a language that's like terribly helpful for you, but you do try to compose like that, great. Then I think you're already on the way. And honestly, I think you get 90% of the way there just taking this on, just taking the component model on. The only time you'd want to add the systems part is because you're like, I have 10,000 health components that all need to be updated every tick for like health regen or something like that. And then you would go back to the DoD book and be like, how should I do a health system with components without having to run an update loop on every single component? Then you would introduce systems and kind of the fancier things. Because again, you can do data-oriented design without ever implementing an ECS. An ECS is not DoD, and DoD is not ECS. They're like two different things that have some amount of overlap. Some people think they don't have a lot of overlap at all, but I feel like you could do DoD without ECS, and you could definitely do an ECS without DoD, you know what I'm saying? Rhiannon, then you guess what you do is you take those components, you break out the data into just plain data, and then have the systems that control the logic. Yeah, so that's the next step, is you divorce data from functionality. That's when you switch from EC to ECS. But even if all you end up doing is ending up with the EC part, with the entity component part, I think that's great. And I think Godot really encourages that kind of character modeling. You don't have to. Godot is more than happy for you to, you know, make these crazy inheritance trees of things. Like, oh, it's not a tree, but it make this deep nested inheritance. That's what I try to move away from. And I still do it. The Grave Escape. It ended up being really stupid to try to program all of the basic functionality for the player and the enemies in a base class, because it made it really hard for me to go back and change the locomotion model for the character from point and click to direct movement with a joystick, because the game was written based on the assumption that players and monsters would only move through the pathfinding system. And as soon as I removed that presumption, the inheritance tree became incredibly dubious. So yeah, I wish I had done it more component based, and I think I'm going to try to do it next time. I think I'm going to try to do that next time. Because yeah, that really failed me. Oops, as they say.
Maximum warp.
Maximum warp, no jewel. How are you doing? I hope you're resting on your laurels, Mr. Node Letter. Yeah, someone should write a book just called The Big Oops. I'm sure someone has. But yeah, we got some big refactors coming our way. We're switching from overlapping to non-overlapping tiles. We're switching from compound block objects to atomic blocks. We got some big refactors coming down the pipes here. Sometimes I feel like I waste a lot of time on diagram writing, diagram drawing, but I think it helps me both explain it and reason about what we're doing. All right, let's do a test. 32 by 32. What are you seeing there? Why the non-overlapping? We're running into issues, no Joel. Because when you have overlapping tiles, you'll notice the issue is most strong here, because this overlap is like the wall is either overriding the floor or the floor is overriding the wall. And if you have an overlap, the standard thing would just say, okay, the wall overlaps the floor, so the wall takes priority. So the wall overlaps the floor in front of it. That's kind of how the Y sorting works out anyway. What if the floor piece had a selection outline, but the wall didn't? Well, then the wall line here would be black, but the lines everywhere else on the floor would be white. And so we've actually solved this problem by splitting the outlines from the textures. This is our really shitty template. That's how we've solved this. And I don't like it because it means a tile cannot... It basically means a tile relies on other neighboring tiles to draw itself. Because it means this tile can't be fully drawn unless the tile above it helps. And that's the problem of overlapping. If we set aside things like issues like normal mapping and things like that, that's the big problem. And if we switch to a non-overlapping model, then each tile is self-sufficient. The tile is guaranteed to be able to draw itself without needing any help from neighboring tiles that might overlap it. So that's why I want to switch to a non-overlapping model. Arnio, you're def jealous of the diagramming skills. You simply don't have the patience for diagramming with more than 2 cells. Arnio, it's not a skill. It's like an illness. It's like an illness, and I offer as Exhibit A this. Which I realized has some fundamental issues with it when I was drawing it. The what I call the bit mask. The great per block bit mask fiasco. I don't remember how many days this took, but it was not time well spent. It's cool though. I love doing this kind of stuff. I'm not gonna lie. I think I get away with it because I'm streaming. And it actually does help to have visual aids when trying to describe something. But yeah, this is more of like an illness than it is anything else. That diagram is like super useful now. You use it every day. No, because we abandoned that model. That was back when we did block face or per block tiles. Now we do per face tiles. So instead of having to worry about the combinatorics of a whole block, we worry about the combinatorics of individual faces. So yeah, I finished that. I guess it was useful in the sense that it proved that that was the wrong approach. It's kind of a somewhat cheap way to prove if you're doing something wrong, because you don't have to pay to do the whole implementation. You can just diagram it out, and if you're lucky, it'll be immediately obvious that what you're doing is wrong. That's the gamble. That's why I say like fake stuff. Like, you know, draw a mock-up of the scene, or, you know, fake something. Because you can usually tell if it's gonna work or not. Nix, you think the then part looks better, but the now is easier to implement? Yeah, I think that's just a visual aspect of the fact that all the outlines are turned on. That wouldn't be how this would work. Like normally, if you saw like this, it would look like this, right? Assuming full outlining. And actually, in fact, you know, this looks good, but I think technically this is more consistent, yeah? Right? It just looks, I think it looks artificially bad because I'm drawing all the outlines the whole time. Proof by brute force. You agree it would make a good poster, though? Yeah, I think that would be a fun poster. The reason I probably wouldn't do that is because it's wrong, and I'd have to go in there and fix it, because I think I realized I messed up when I was drawing it. And I actually didn't, it actually doesn't show what it's supposed to show for like a large segment of it. I think I'm okay with that diagram just being there as like a warning. Don't do this. I feel giddy. I think it's that caffeine rush. I'm just kind of having fun. I'm having fun. I really don't want to do any work. Not that I'm doing work. I just don't want to. Could be a fun inside joke. Yeah, that it's like this whole big diagram that if you actually look at it carefully, you're like, this is totally wrong. All right, we're going to do a quick test. We're going to just add this little test object or this little test tile set. Warning, objects in diagram may appear more useful than they are. Yeah, exactly. It'd be more like, warning, objects in diagram are less useful than they appear. That's basically what you said, though. All right, how do I assign an atlas source here? Oh, excuse me. Here we go. Oh, I saved it and I didn't export it. I don't actually know what the offset's going to be now. I guess it's still -8. But it's going to be... Oh, wait. How do we do this? Okay, minus... Like this? -6? Okay, maybe it is the same. Let's not save this. This is only a test. should probably color this white. Probably gonna be easier to see. No, Joel, with your tile maps, you want to heavily work with overlaps when you get around to working on it again someday. Maybe you should reconsider. I think it depends. I think if you do outlines, I think if you're guaranteed to have outlines, especially at like the junctions of like heterogeneous shapes or surfaces or something like that, I think it's fine because it hides it. It hides the seam. But I'm like not totally sold on it. And I think a lot of things would be easier without overlapping. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know for sure. There's definitely some stuff that's harder, and there's definitely some stuff that's easier. Oh, did I just do the same thing twice? I'm such an idiot. Delete. Here we go. Here we go. 8. 6. -6. Yeah. I mean, your tile stuff is rad. Yeah, I think this is awkward, just in like a different way. All right, hold on. Let's just fucking... I know you want me to save this. I don't want to, though. Here, I want to try something first. I know this is going to be wrong, but I want to see what it looks like. This is the part that I don't like about this, is this 7 pixel tall floor tile deal. This is the part that I'm like, I'm not sure about this. So I want to kind of draw it out and see what it looks like. So we're going to draw one for you. I guess I can't draw them all at once, huh? And we'll draw one for you. Oh, so these are... Okay, so it's interesting. These are... So from as far as the auto tile is concerned, they're 32 by 8s. Because of the lack of overlapping. I see how this would work now. So this actually tessellates super cleanly. That's great. Okay, okay. This actually looks pretty doable. All right, okay, my fears are assuaged. So the tile size would still be 32 by 8, but the visual tile is only 7 tall, but it's that overlap. Or the lack of overlap, per se. It actually catches itself up. Like, it actually, there's still enough space between each tile. It doesn't go wonky. Something like this is going to look kind of weird. How do I reconcile something like that? Maybe I don't. I guess I don't is the answer. Yeah, wait. How the hell does that work? Maybe it doesn't have to work. Arnio, would you ever have diagonal floor roof tiles like that without any neighbors, or would that always be invalid? I mean, it wouldn't necessarily be invalid, but it would be unreachable, right? Or would it? I mean, I guess it would if we didn't allow for diagonal movement. It's a little awkward in terms of the visual representation. But I think in practice, it might be totally fine. You know? Like, I think in practice, there wouldn't be a problem. All right, one thing I don't love is that would actually, you'd anchor the character further back in the tile than I would like. I would like to anchor the character forward in the tile. So if anything, I might switch it so that it's like this instead. So we'd say like a margin of 1 here, or not that, margin of 1 here. So if I switched everything back, then we would, that gets pushed forward. And then these would all need to go forward. Say size 11. We could say this. So I could do it this way instead, where I shift it up instead of back. And we look at, show me the, there we go, yeah. And so what happens if we do that weird thing that we looked at earlier? I think there would still be a gap, but it would be somewhere else. So we did this and we erased that. It doesn't change the gap. So yeah, that's a little weird. But you wouldn't be allowed to like squeeze through a diagonal tile connection unless you were allowed to pass through these. Like, you wouldn't be allowed to move diagonally if it was an actual pinch point. Like, if these were walls on each side, you couldn't move diagonally anyway. So I don't think the gap is actually a problem. The only question is whether you want this. So let's, what if I add a crew member here? Where does the crew member stand? Oh my God. I don't want you to be like this. Why are you like this? go. Yeah, so I like this. So the crew member would stand, and they would stand right in the middle. That I like. I like this. Arneo, there's only one choice. Bin the squares and remake everything with hexagons. That would actually solve a lot of these problems, probably. I'm sure it would have all its own problems. Whoever hasn't seen Hexagons or the Bestagons visual from CGP Grey, go check that out. I don't think I have, so let me go take a look. Or let me go bookmark that for later. Hexagons are the Bestagons. Yeah, I'll grab that. I don't know if I'm actually familiar with this with the CGB guy, CGP. I don't know if I've seen these. Yeah, let me grab that link. Add that to my YouTube watch list. All right, watch. Save to watch list. Check that out. Top tier educational YouTube. Nice, nice. All right, so yeah, so I think if I have to offset it, I would offset it visually. I would offset it back so that the middle of the tile would be considered just in front of the halfway point, so that their feet look like it's standing in the middle of the tile. I know technically because it's odd numbered, it would be up front, but the tile size, according to the tile map layer, like it works in almost every case. That's a weird case back there. And yeah, I think the blocked validity system would have a problem with that anyway. But I think this is okay. I think we can work with this here. There's only one real question, which is, so let's say you're mousing over a tile, right? So like here, you see me mousing over a tile. The tile block extends down. So if this is the tile, the pieces are down, right? So like the walls get drawn below where my cursor is. Is that what we would want, or would we want the tile to get placed on top of the surface where the cursor is? My instinct says on top of. And that's why we would want that raycast cursor input, so that if you kept just clicking to add blocks, you click once, it adds a block on top of your cursor. And now your cursor has a new surface to hit for the raycast, and so now if you place another block, it's added on top. Pop, 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 pop. I think I'd want it to be like that. Whereas currently what we have is you kind of place it down. And that we got away with that because we distinguish between floor pieces and wall pieces. So we have different offsets that all sit in the same... They all sit in the same coordinate, and we offset them visually different amounts so that you can have a wall up and a floor down and, a ceiling up and... Yeah. So I think I can live with this. I think I can live with this. I think I'd be happy with this. I'm kind of shocked that this tessellates correctly, honestly. Yeah, even when I put another wall or another floor behind this wall, it actually like doesn't overlap still, which is excellent. Yeah, I think I like this. It's a little awkward, but it's okay because this is just a visual system. This doesn't have any impact on like gameplay. So we can do little tricks. We can cheat a little bit when it comes time to actually draw the tiles. Because there's no gameplay consequences for doing so. But yeah, I like this. I like this. Where the center is like right here. It looks like you're standing right in the center with these little feats. Little 1 pixel feats. If he's running, it's like... I guess that wouldn't do anything. But if we got this guy and we like... Let's make him local. And we like give him a little animation. So if he's like running in place, he's like anchored right to the middle here. Oh man. Already been doing this for 2 hours. Crazy. Our little running man. Yeah, I like this. I think we can live with this. So we want to offset it back is the lesson of this. Does this match up correctly when I do this? No, hold on, we might have a problem. Houston, I might have found a problem. We have a half tile offset. All right, there might be some worries. Oh, there's a half tile offset here too. Why is that? Hold on. I think I know what to do. I think this needs to be 12 tall. It needs to be like taller. We need to say it like this. Yeah, here we go. That fixed that. Let's fix the other side too. So the walls can't be odd, an odd height. That breaks it. But that's fine. Because now we do it like this. Now there's no overlap. Now it's perfect. Perfectly sealed here. I can't draw both simultaneously because we don't have them split to different... I haven't bothered to make multiple tile map layers, but... Yeah, I think this could work. Insert Gene Wilder, it could work. GIF. Arneo, on top sounds right because you have to cut away tops of things and you don't cut away below the mouse. Yeah, that's probably right. I don't know. We'll want to validate that at some point. But Rhiannon, do you think this looks good? I hope it looks good. I think this will work. I think this will work. I had concerns about having an odd number size floor tile, but it looks like it's totally fine. It's like when you have like some musical line that's like odd. Like you have a weird time signature, but it's like it's fine because it matches up at the end of the measure anyway. Like it's still tesselatable, even though it's kind of weird within itself. It's like, yeah, it's like making a song that's like in 7/8 timing or something, right? It's like it feels kind of weird and disjointed, but it actually lines up totally fine. I don't know. That's maybe a shitty analogy. I'm not much of a musician. But I'll take it. take it. So let me try to remember what the settings are, because I'll probably forget this. So this piece is still an 8-pixel texture region. It has the empty, so the empty pixel is below the Z face. I think that's the important thing. And then the Y, okay, so for all of these, we need an even sized texture region. So the texture region must remain even. So like, even though this is just 7 pixels tall, the region is 8. Similarly, for this one, even though the texture just takes up 11 pixels tall, the region is 12. And the empty pixel is below the tile. And that gives us consistent tessellating behavior. That's excellent. With no overlaps. So we could radically simplify the auto tiling mechanism, because now we no longer need a tile to look at its backwards neighbors to see if it needs to contribute to that tile's drawing. Each tile will be fully self-sufficient and does not rely on other tiles, and that is huge. That is huge. Also, we're reducing the size of the bulk, so when we do cutaways, we can cut away even more, which is also excellent. Because part of what I don't like about the current thing, about our current system, is that I feel like the bulk cutaway is not enough. We're not cutting away enough, because we can only either cut away the top half or all of it. And I don't really want to cut away all of it. I only really want to ever cut away the top part of it. I want to leave part of the wall. Like when I cut away a wall like this, I always want to leave part of the wall, but here, this is too much. We're leaving too much material. But in the new system, we would cut away 2/3 instead of just half. And I think that is excellent. Like there would just be one little block left over to let you know that there was a wall here. I think that's going to be really good. I'm very pleased with this. I feel the potential. Rhiannon Journey, I've said I don't want to work on anything. You would consider these streams productive. They are productive, but it's like, these are the streams that create work. And the other streams are the streams that consume work. But I would call these producer streams. Where we're like, here's all the work that we need to do. And then when I'm more focused, hopefully tomorrow and next week, I should be able to be more focused tomorrow, because it's a day off and I can take my time, wake up, have breakfast, drink like 5 cups of coffee. Arneo, diagonals and prime numbers are both scary and weird math-wise, so I guess they work together. Yeah, maybe. This is part of the reason why I don't pre-plan things, is because my mental model of the universe is not accurate. It's like an old tracker once said, if you want to find something, use your eyes. All right, now what do we do? Now we're back to the whole, the shape of a problem doesn't start anywhere. What's the first thing to do? I guess the first thing to do would be to remake the tileset atlas resources. And we can do it in a way where we don't overlap. We don't have to overlap, or we can overlap the outline and the underlying texture. We don't need to keep the outline and the underlying texture separate anymore. So a nice unintended consequence of this system is we can remove half of our tile map layers, which is good because we were getting to the point where we had a lot of tile map layers, and now we're actually, oh man, wait, how many tile map layers are we gonna get rid of? Are we gonna only have 3 tile map layers now per level instead of like 10? Because that would be awesome. Let me think about that for a second. Because right now, our problem, because we have all these offsets and we treat each aspect differently, like we treat an upper bulk and a lower bulk and a deck and a door all separately. The doors might be different. We might still need a door layer, but maybe we don't. Maybe we don't need a separate layer. Maybe we can put it all in the same Atlas source. Hold on. Let me look at this. So here's the deck level. And a deck level has deck plate layer X, deck plate layer Y, deck plate layer Z. Arneo, the one you first heard, the one you've heard is first you must watch, then you can see. I like to watch. How many movie references can we squeeze into like one conversation? Yeah, so we have 3 deck plate layers, then we have 3 lower bulk layers, then we have 3 upper bulk layers, and then we have a door proxy layer. I think we can get rid of all but 3 of these. I think we're just going to have tile block layer X, tile block layer Y, tile block layer Z. Yeah, shit. That's awesome. That removes 70% of our tile map layers. Each layer is going to be doing more work, so they're going to be a lot less sparse, so that's unfortunate. But that's still probably better. It's way less memory copies. Neat. Okay. Hey, Magoo. Thanks for the clip, Rhiannon. You don't know why, but that statement resonated with you. I'm glad. I'm glad. Let me listen to this for a second here. Yeah, true. That's the true right there. All right. Well, that's cool. Also, why do you feel like we need to save? What changed? Why is there an asterisk here? What changed? What is happening? Oh, you know, it's probably that test thing. I'm just going to close this without saving. I'm going to delete that test. Is it the test? Yeah, it is. Get rid of those files. Close that. All right. Let's work on tile set atlases, because yeah. I keep thinking I'm out of time. I keep being like, oh my god, we're past 2 hours. I must be out of time. I forgot that I actually don't have a lot of obligations today. So that's nice. It's Friday. Yeah, I'm like too giddy to actually be productive at the moment, but we're going to do our best here. Yeah, so this block template is going to totally change. There's actually only going to be one set of these. Yeah, shoot. All right, let's see what we can do. Let's make it... How small do we think this file can be? I bet I can do this in a 256 by 256 file. Let's at least load our let's load the correct palette. What should we do? Should we do low sat expanded probably? Low sat. This should probably be my default. Rhiannon, you got off a bit early. You're delaying work today also. You want to add monsters? First, you need a way to equip your weapon. So you might as well work on some inventory and UI stuff, but you don't want to do all of that. Yeah, I'm having, because of the breadth of this refactor, I'm tempted to work on some other stuff first that like lays the groundwork. Like I was talking about how I'm going to need the fake like raycast cursor input for this to work. For it to work well, I'm gonna need that. So I'm like, I could just do that, but I probably shouldn't. So we're gonna try to not. It's really easy to like get ahead of yourself that way. Because it's like, I understand why you would want to be able to equip a weapon, which would require inventory and UI. But if you restate that sentence again, I think it's like patently like kind of ridiculous on its face. I'm not to ridicule you, but like if you think of the statement, I want to add monsters, but first I need a way to equip your weapon. It's like, you know, on one level that makes total sense, and on another level that is obviously untrue. Because like having a monster does not require the player to have a weapon. But I understand that mindset. That's like the mindset, right? Where you're like, well, what's the point of having a monster if the player can't fight the monster? And if the player doesn't have a weapon, they can't fight the monster. And if they don't have a UI, they can't equip the weapon. And if they don't have an inventory, there's nothing to put on the weapon. Yeah, just give yourself like a debug, like auto kill, like on mouse click thing or something. Like, I don't know. Yeah. If you need to test killing the monsters, right? Yeah. No, I totally understand that mindset. And I fully endorse it. Arneo, that's exactly what happens to you all the time. You start from wanting to do something cool, and then you always end up doing user interfaces so you can see what you're doing. Yeah, I really want to do a lot more debug draw tool stuff, but I know if I start heading down that road, that is a road that never ends. That is a road that never ends. I mean, you know what they say, the road to hell is paved with debug draw tools. All right. So if I was to, so what we do want though, is we do want at least a couple different layers here. Instead of layer 1, layer 2, layer 3, let's just make a new layer. Let's send it to the background. What's a good background? I guess just black is a good background color. Well, maybe not. Some kind of low sat blue is probably the best we've got. Something like this. I like my blueprint background color. Okay, so this can be like layer X instead. Say layer X. Arguably, we don't need any layer distinction, but I kind of want one. Because I get yelled at when I don't put stuff on its own layer. So now I just do it. Just to avoid being yelled at. Alright, let's save this somewhere. We really need a big cleanup. A big cleanup. I'm gonna make a folder. I'm just gonna call it new. We're gonna dump all our new stuff in there. Because we have the extraneous requirement that all the old stuff keep working for now. Just in case we get a big raid and I'm like, let me show you what kind of stuff we do. I felt bad yesterday when someone was like, can I see your progress so far? And I was like, no. I broke my game on purpose. All right, what are we going to call this? We'll call this like... We can still call it block template. Because it has a different file path. That'll be confusing, but we'll do it. All right, so there is an argument to be made to have a texture and the outline on different layers here, just to make it easier to work on. So I think I will do that. I'll call this like, what's the draw order? Is it, it's embarrassing that I don't remember this, but like, it's top to bottom, right? Yeah, so this I'd want to say like, layer, X, outline, and then I make another layer beneath it, whatever. Layer, X, texture. But yeah, I've been having a lot of fun the last couple of days. This is where you just like are like this kind of stuff where you're like figuring out new things and you're getting these new ideas. This is like where this is when you're just like mainlining motivation. And then the hard part is like carrying that motivation through the actual implementation, right? That's the challenge. All right, I'm gonna draw the textures first. We'll just draw the textures in white and the outlines in black, I guess. Why not? There's no reason to not do that. And then what did I say? I said the empty pixel has to be below, right? That's what I said before I deleted everything. Before I deleted all of the relevant work. All right, I kind of need to see the grid. Oh, this isn't layer X, this is layer Z. Yeah, let's start with layer X. So we go 1, 2, 3. Oh, here's another thing we can change. Here's another thing we can change. because we're doing like a fundamental rewrite of everything, we could change the way we think about outlining. Because right now what we do is the default case is that we assume no outlines. Or no, we assume all outlines. So we assume all out. You can kind of see here. Oh, hold on. I got to let a delivery driver in. They're bringing me a lot of computer equipment. Thanks. Sorry. I got the first of my computer parts are arriving today. But what I was describing is if you look here, we like the base case is like, let's draw all the outlines. And then what we do is we go through and we check and we're like, okay, can we get rid of this outline? Can we get rid of this outline? Can we get rid of this outline? You know? So the default is we presume all the outlines are present. But I'm actually thinking, but I kind of hate that because it means when you look at the auto tiler, everything is a negation. We're looking for the negative case. So like if we go into the tile system and we go down to the auto tiler rules, if you look here, this says private bool not has edge negative y, you know? Private bool not has edge positive y. And I kind of hate that. I think that's like an anti-pattern. Because the bool returns positive when you don't have the edge, because that's the case it's looking for. So I would kind of like to flip that. I would like to presume that we don't need any outlines. And then what we'll do is we'll check for cases. We'll check to see if we do need an outline. And if we do, we'll pop it over to one with an outline. So I think that would be better. Yeah? And that means that when I'm rewriting this atlas here, man, I'm so the game dev joke, which is like always be like completely refactoring your game from scratch. But it's something you have to do sometimes. We're not refactoring things from scratch, but we are, because we're changing a couple of fundamental things, I think it's a good opportunity to like reevaluate some of our assumptions and maybe correct some anti-patterns that by themselves didn't seem like it was worth changing. So yeah, having written this as an anti-pattern, I think it would be good. It's going to suck to rewrite these, but it's actually not going to be that bad. And I mentioned why it's a lot simpler now, because we are removing the Y sorting issue due to the overlapping outlines. But yeah, I think this is a good opportunity to flip it. So instead of not has edge negative Y, we can just say has edge negative Y. So yeah, I think it's correct that the base case should be the case with no outlines, with no edges. Because it's basically we're checking for edges and corners and stuff. So in the upper left is going to be the case of nothing. So I like this. I like this. Oops. Wow, I have a strong instinct. I think it sounds better. Arneo, you might try and sleep. The stream is too exciting. When you can almost understand what I'm doing for once. Take it easy, Arneo. Yeah, get some rest. It should make the code... it should make everything easier to reason about. Oops. Continuous. All right, I'm gonna have to go get my... Someone else try to call me? Oh no, that was a while ago. I'm gonna have to go get my equipment soon. I don't want to leave that stuff down there for very long. It's a lot of computer equipment. So the texture is simple because right now the texture is no different. I want to start doing like a gradient so that we can test it more. Like I want to start... Oh, I'm also... This is the wrong... I'm such a dummy. I wasn't supposed to do this one. I was supposed to do this one. Supposed to do like this. So it's this with one empty pixel below it. So I should probably make a grid to make that easier. And so this is like the... This is what we're talking about here. What does this look like in the template? Because we don't have a different... So this shape is the same still. What is this? Array? It's 8 by 6 with one missing doodad. Where's the empty tile? Okay, so it's here. Okay, so this, I don't care about this because this is the in the tile format. Well, I do care about this. I guess this part doesn't matter. I can draw this part the same way. It's the auto tiler's ruling that I need to change. So I actually am going to draw this the same way that it already was. So if anything, I could actually copy some of this stuff over if I wanted to. Oh no, they're different sizes, but I think the format's going to stay the same. I actually kind of like the format we have. I don't really want to change it. Okay, so that just takes up half. I don't think there's a better way to compress this. I trust that I had already figured out the best compression for this. Why am I doing this piece by piece? What's wrong with me? So I think that's still correct. So we need to do this. So this is like this. I should have done this part first. If you're looking for efficiency, look somewhere else. So here's Y, or X, and then Y is just flip H, move this down. How tall is this now? 144. I might reorganize this just to try to get it to fit in fit in the space that we have. Just do my best to try to get this within a power of 2. Grid settings 32 by 8. And then what do I need here? 4 by 4. Easy. Yeah, there might need to be a little bit of reorganization here. And in fact, these might not actually be shared. We might not actually share these, huh? I might not actually want to put the different faces in the same file. Well, maybe I do. Maybe I do. For a given hull material or whatever, I might actually want to do that. Okay, so here's something. It's not a power of 2. It's 128 by 176. Wonder if there's a way to get this into a power of 2. It looks like the answer is going to be a strong maybe. It all depends on these extra buffer pixels that I have here. Rhiannon Journey, you're adding monsters the long way. You're queuing up some videos on how others handle inventory systems. This is how you end up, you know, this is one of those, if you want to make an apple pie from scratch, first you have to invent the universe kind of situation. All right, these are all on the wrong layer. All right, now we have a fun organizational problem. Let's go back to the top parts. Let's see if we can do this in another way. Like, what if we moved it over like this? No, maybe. $72. 128. Well, that's not really it, is it? I mean, this works, but it's not exactly a power of 2. This is 256 by 88. You know, maybe what I should focus on is actually getting this into a power of 2. Is it doable? 128 times 72. That's 9,216. 64 by 64. It's 4,096 by 128. 8,000. No, so I think mathematically I can't get this into a thing smaller than 128 by 128. All right, we have to rethink the packing problem a little bit. I mean, the Z faces are trivially A power of 8. Well, I guess it's this padding pixel. This padding pixel is what I don't want. But when we did our test, it was the only way to get it to tessellate correctly was to use the padding pixel. Although I guess in this case, the padding pixel helps us get to 8, so it doesn't matter. And this one helps us get to 12. So yeah. Okay, so I have to figure this out. I can stare at this later. That's fine. But we're well on our way to switch over to a non-overlapping tile format. And then change our block size. Hey, welcome back, Magoo. I'm excited. I think we're on the right track. We're switching tracks a little bit, but I think we're on the right track. I'll save this for now, I guess. I need to rethink the packing a little bit. This packing was perfect for what we were trying to do. It had a lot of empty space, but it was necessary for the auto tiler or for the tile map layer. Similarly, there is some negative space that we need to use, or padding. Figure that out. What if I get rid of this? What is this? How tall is this? 144 minus. What's 144 minus 12? 132. That's not good enough either. Okay, yeah, I'll work on that later. But yeah, I think I'm gonna wrap it up here. I gotta go get all those valuable electronics that are just sitting down in my hallway. And I gotta get back to work with my day job here. But yeah, this was awesome. I'm very excited. I'm very excited for what's coming down the pipeline here. Thanks for the stream. No, thank you. You make the stream. Not me, I'm just here. If a stream falls around in the forest, if a stream falls in the forest and no one's around to hear it. Mr. Magoo, you need to reevaluate your life choices. That's funny. All right, yeah, we'll be back tomorrow. We'll be doing this tomorrow, same time. Well, approximately the same time. I usually start a little later on Saturdays. But yeah, we'll be doing this. We'll be back at it. We'll try to find the beginning of our problem, as far as like how we're gonna start to pull it. We need to find the beginning of the thread that we can start pulling on to actually make this change. But yeah, I really appreciate you. I hope everyone has a happy rest of their Friday. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye. It was a good stream.
Maximum
Thanks,
one.
Nix. It was a good stream thanks to you. Thanks to all of you. Stay gold.